absolutely honoured to delight onto the stage for you today the grandson of James Connolly, Mr. James Connolly Heron. Thank you, Jimmy.
Hello? Hello. Cordial. Thanks to Robert Balla and the Reclaim the Vision of 1916 team for this great honour. I, like all present here today, am thinking of family members, friends and comrades who are no longer in our lives, but who we wish were here with us today on this Citizens' Centenary celebration. And we salute them and presume they are with us in spirit on this most historic of occasions. A bula boss to our missing friends. Today, on this historic day, we pay tribute to and congratulate the latest recipient of the Freedom of the City of Dublin Award, Father Joseph Mallon, son of Commandant Michael Mallon, the last surviving child of a 1916 leader. We wish him continuing good health and happiness. We salute the Noisy campaign as a leading historian and advisor to the infamous Ireland Inspires programme, disparagingly put it, on a stunning victory in the High Court to preserve the last extant 1916 battlefield in Moore Street. That shameful plan to destroy an area described by our National Museum of Ireland as the most important historic site in modern Irish history, now totally discredited in the High Court judgment. Of the rising judge, Max Barrett said, "The hardest of battles fought by the toughest of people for the greatest of ends." The same can be said of the principled 14-year campaign to save Moore Street, the birthplace of the Republic, from the developers' wrecking ball. We salute all campaigners today. The toughest of people who fought the hardest of battles for the greatest ends. The minister's Wreath-Lane charade of Easter weekend, while considering an appeal against its preservation, fools nobody. The spin politics of the past. The record shows that citizens saved Moore Street while successive administrations shamefully failed to secure, protect the most important historic site in modern Irish history, in our interest, the public interest, while they pandered to the commercial interest of a failed property developer. We welcome the adopted position of the construction section of SIPTU for their principled stand in opposition to any proposed destruction of the Moore Street battlefield. We salute the courageous stand taken by Colin Moore, the client, who at great personal risk took his case to prevent a private property developer under NAMA funding demolish in 1916 what British artillery shelling failed to destroy. Moore Street is the great survivor of that blitz, designed to crush forever any semblance of resistance to British rule in Ireland. We repeat today, the last extant 1916 battlefield will not be destroyed in our watch. In keeping with the spirit of 1916, we will defend it to the last. Fellow citizens, friends, comrades, Irish men and Irish women, we stand here today at this sacred place, at this historic hour, in tribute to a golden generation of our people who, out of the darkness and despair of slavery, rose up one lifetime ago and declared to their masters and to the world that enough was enough. That generation refused to depart to hell or to Connacht, refused to live in slavery, refused to live in subjection as second-class citizens in their own land, and set out on bicycles armed with rifles to challenge the might of an empire upon which they were told the sun never set. They fought and risked their lives for Irish freedom. Your freedom, my freedom, our freedom. And that's what sets them apart. The late Sean Cronin, in his published story of the Rising, said of those men and women, none considered themselves a hero, but all were heroes. There were fewer than 900 of them, and they challenged an empire. They were ordinary men, and their training was minimal. In that lies their glory. They believed that Ireland should be free, and in that lies their greatness. That volunteer army of Irish men and Irish women went out to free their country from colonial rule, oppression and conquest, serving neither king nor Kaiser, and with no monetary gain or personal reward whatsoever. Not a cent and not a shilling. That's what sets them apart. At the heart of that great army was a citizens' army, founded as a result of the naked brutality of a disgraced and discredited police force during the 1913 lockout. They would go on to play a crucial role in the Easter Rising, the pivotal event in our country's long and painful struggle for freedom and independence. In 1915, in the Workers' Republic, James Connolly clearly set out their intentions. However it is for others, he wrote, for us of the citizen army there is but one ideal, an Ireland ruled and owned by Irish men and women, sovereign and independent from the centre to the sea, and flying its own flag outward over all the oceans. Our demands most modest are, he said, we only want the earth. Home rule, much less the promise of home rule, was never their goal. Freedom from the plough in the field to the stars in the sky was their aim. Within the ranks of the Irish volunteers were poets, playwrights, teachers, lawyers, trade unionists, musicians, actors, artists and journalists, and ordinary working men and women. Citizens determined to create a free society of equality, rich in cultural activity and identity, with the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and the unfettered control of Irish destiny, with no mandate required. They were members of a golden generation in our history, the likes of which we have not seen since. A generation willing to sacrifice their lives for their country, in stark contrast to a most recent one willing to sacrifice their country for their lifestyles. That generation did not engage in land speculation or golden circle banking, did not hold offshore bank accounts, and were not the recipients of brown envelopes in return for favours granted. That generation had a dream and a vision and set out to fight in the cause of Irish freedom, their freedom and our freedom, in a reconquest of Ireland. And we, all of us, are the direct beneficiaries of that cause and that great sacrifice. Those that held or have held high office in this country, in comfortable positions of power or influence or privilege in this republic, do so as a result of that cause and that sacrifice. They sit today in the comfort of freedom that did not fall from the sky. The 1916 Rising was a direct result of the merging of four great movements of that time: the national, the social, the cultural and the feminist. All joined together, all joined forces in a golden moment in our history that should be celebrated and remembered with pride, without apology, and with no royal seal of approval required.
Hey.
The purpose and meaning of commemoration is to remember and pay tribute. Through this initiative, citizens now pay tribute to true heroes of our history. How fortunate we are to be able to do so as a centenary celebration. On this day we remember their lives, their times, and salute and wonder their absolute commitment to the cause of labour and the cause of Ireland. We are out for Ireland for the Irish, James Connolly wrote. But who are the Irish? Not the rack-renting, slum-owning landlord, not the sweating, profit-grinding capitalist, not the sleek and oily lawyers, not the prostitute pressmen, the hard liars of the enemy. Not these are the Irish upon whom the future depends. Not these, but the Irish working class, the only secure foundation upon which a free nation can be reared. In the long run, he wrote, the freedom of a nation is measured by the freedom of its lowest class. And what of that freedom today? The freedom of our lowest class. What of our time? An alliance of rogue developers, bankers and compliant politicians are responsible for the unforgivable economic collapse of our country. An opportunity to build a republic of equality in housing, health and education, the great pillars of a civilised society, was squandered and lost. The great failure of Celtic Tiger years, the failure of successive administrations, an entirely innocent section of society left to pay the price, to carry the burden, to right the wrong, the guilty for the most part walking free. Those innocent of any wrongdoing suffered on. Women and children and our elderly suffer most of all. Medical care in the form of treatment on a hospital trolley. Children with no homes to go to. The scandal of our time. The scandal of any time. We are now assured by some that we have turned a corner. Tell that to the citizens evicted from their homes by failed banks, bailed out of financial ruin through public funding. A nightmare scenario for any family in 21st century Ireland. Tell that to our elderly citizens lying in hospital trolleys in corridors awaiting medical treatment. Tell that to the children of the nation who've no homes to sleep in this evening. Tell that to those forced to leave the country of their birth to seek employment, leaving broken and heartbroken families behind, in parishes fast becoming ghost towns. Tell that to the Cleary's workers, frog-marched out of their employment on an infamous day in recent Labour history. Treated like criminals by an army of thugs in the employ of a latter-day William Martin Murphy. Workers banished to the streets in tears, bewildered and lost, shown no mercy after a lifetime of service. Dismissed, diminished, unwanted, used, abused. Tell that to the Cleary's workers. We don't require a corner to turn. We need a new road, and we need a new journey, a new beginning. A new politics with trust in those we elect to public office. We need to reclaim the Republic and take it back from the bankers, the developers, the careerists, the chancers and the cheats. The evidence of a failed political system is all around us. It's in the hostels, it's in the homeless shelters, in the dole queues and the hospital corridors. A society based on serving the greed of capital rather than the needs of citizens has failed us. It must change and it must go. Is it any wonder there's been a concerted attempt by some to diminish the Rising, an attempt to portray it as just another event in a decade of events? Not so long ago, the centenary commemoration was to be a celebration of how far we had progressed over 100 years. That plan was quickly binned as our country was economically destroyed by the greed and avarice of a class some subsequently deemed worthy of enormous salaries to continue living their lavish lifestyle, courtesy of the public purse, a fumble in a greasy till. Then we had the ultimate insult of the infamous Ireland Inspires fiasco in this very building. A blatant revisionist attempt to distance citizens from their history in the very place where history was made. Finally, the state, under pressure from citizens, produced a 1916 commemoration programme worthy of the name, and the people have responded to it as we predicted they would. Indeed, some of the greatest critics of the Rising are not slow now to avail of the commercial opportunity that the centenary of the Rising produces, and they now trade in the presence of the very memory of those they ridiculed in the past. In some quarters, the revisionist agenda is still being promoted. The what-if school of history, the home rule or rival society, the no-mandate club, the shared history society, the honouring of all who died on the Glasnevin wall of remembrance, the shame of the Stonebreakers Yard and the Portobello executions and the North King Street massacre of civilians neatly skipped over. The indiscriminate incendiary shelling of our capital city, a minor footnote in a breathtaking rewriting of history. We reject that rewriting of history. In remembering all who died in general, we remember nobody in particular. This is an attempt to deflect and detract and trivialise the Rising, the pivotal event in our history, in a clear attempt to avoid the real issue facing us. Where stands the Republic for which the men and women fought? Where stands the Republic for which they gave their very lives? Not the Republic of promises made but soon forgotten, pledges made but soon broken, bluff and bluster of stroke and spin, the politics of the club and career over the politics of the people, by the people, for the people. The failed politics of the past now laid bare and rejected by the electorate. 1916 largely ignored in the last election. 1916 references thin on the ground or in party programmes. And we still have examples of attempts to stage manage, complicate and appropriate commemorative events rather than simply allow citizens celebrate the Rising as an event in its own right, as we do today. No 1916 portraits adorn our public buildings. Edward Daly mistaken for John Daly in the official Easter Sunday programme, courtesy of the Department of An Taoiseach, advised by an expert group on commemorations. A forgotten face, executed in the cause of Irish freedom. No image of Countess Markovics in that programme, shamefully ignored after a life of service to those most in need in her time, disgracefully pilloried by some, serving their own special interest in our time. A remarkable minister in her time, forgotten and ignored by ministers in our time. No mention of the O'Reilly left to die on the street without medical aid or assistance. The very location of his killing set to become a vehicular entrance to a shopping mall. Heroes of our history, they deserve to be introduced to a new generation now charged with building our economy and country in the interests of all. This country does not belong to a banking elite, a developer elite, or a political elite. Its title deeds are ours, and we citizens hold and guard them in trust for future generations. Politics must now be returned to the safe embrace of the people, with public representatives serving the needs of all and not the interests of a few. Together, progressive forces can now set about building a real republic worthy of that title in a new political landscape, with nobody abandoned, nobody marginalised, nobody ignored or forgotten. If all citizens have a stake in society, then all citizens will sacrifice to rebuild it. A caring and sharing society cannot be lost through the greed of a few. We, all of us, each and every one of us in our own everyday lives can reclaim it through rediscovering our willingness to reach out and support the less fortunate, the vulnerable, the lost and the lonely. And that's the legacy of 1916. It's in all of us. It's in our collective DNA. There is so much more that unites us than divides us. A coalition of the left makes more sense to me than a coalition with the right. The torch of freedom on Clive Sullish now passes to a new generation, so aptly described by poet Theo Dorgan as the rising generation, that now assumes the responsibility of dreaming a new republic. The future is theirs, and that dream lives. Today, we pay tribute to a remarkable and never to be forgotten generation of our people, citizens emerging from the depths of slum poverty, deprivation and starvation, who in their time seized the opportunity to change the old order forever and remarkably succeeded in so doing. They emerged out of the darkness and despair of slavery into the bright new dawn of liberty, leaving us a legacy that should be embraced and cherished with pride. Pride in our language, not a dismissal of it. Pride in our flag, not a disregard for it. Pride in our anthem, not a replacement of it. Pride in our pursuit of freedom and not an apology for it. Poet and sculptor Doris Sigerson said of them, they lit a flame within their land that long was ashes cold. With splendid dreams they made it glow, true in their hearts of gold. They lit a beacon in their land, built of the souls of men, to make thee warm once more, Kathleen, to bid thee live again. On this centenary, on this Republic Day, at this most historic location, we honour them, we salute them. They must never be forgotten, for all of us are forever in their debt. Today we reclaim their vision, not only because we have to, but because we choose to. We pick up the pieces, we carry the torch, to share the burden, to right the wrong, with hopes in our hearts and a determination to create a full, free and happy life for all or for none. The light of liberty and freedom lit here a century ago may have dimmed in our time, it may have flickered, but it's not extinguished, can never be extinguished, will never be extinguished. May the brave men and courageous women of the Irish Volunteers, the Citizen Army and Cumann on rest forever at ease and in peace under that warm golden glow of the tricolour and the starry plough. Never had a man or woman a grander cause. Never was a cause more grandly served. They served the cause. Gura Mila, Mila, Moragib,